Okay,
Recording.
welcome everybody to our fourth Fireside chat. This one is about halotherapy with pets and horses. Our other three monthly ones have been talking about humans, about asthma, about sanitization, about touchless services. So we're really excited to talk about our friends that we spent a lot of time with here in COVID, our pets, as well as the equine industry. So I'd just like to have the three participants, the panelists, introduce themselves. So Jason, why don't you go first, and then Lisa, and then Nikki. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure, Jason Robbins here. I am based out of Florida, kind of near Wellington, which is arguably one of the horse capitals of the country. I have a horse myself. It's over here. There it is behind me in this picture background. And I'm very interested in how salt therapy was working for humans. And then I realized that the product could be used for horses. Met Steve, and we decided that I would start a division called Equine Salt Systems, available at www.equinesalt.com. And we've been selling machines for a number of years now, improving them all the time, and getting tremendous results.
All right, that's good. So yeah, I'll ask you some more specific questions as we get going. Okay.
Yeah.
Lisa, talk about your background and why you're interested in the pet business here.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So my name is Lisa Semmerly. I come from a background of pharmaceutical sales. I was the lead exec rep for Merck Pharmaceuticals and respiratory specialty. And I parlayed that into a medical spa, was always attracted to the concept of halotherapy. And then more recently, joined full-time with Halotherapy Solutions and have been pushing for the pet division, because I do believe that the pet business and halotherapy is now timely and is definitely an emerging market.
No, that's great. And third, but definitely not least, is Nikki. So Nikki, you have a very fascinating background in the pet industry. So give us a little 1 to 2 minute background of yourself and why you're interested in this.
Sure. I've been in the pet industry for, over 20 years now. And I've worked with companies, everything from startups to Purina, and I've worked in research and development and marketing, and just basically helping companies get a good handle in the pet space. And I'm very passionate about the pet space because I've been doing rescue with animals for many years, everything from birds to dogs and cats and everything else. And I came to halotherapy in about 2017, right before my wedding, because somebody had told me that I would stay healthy. I didn't want to get sick before my wedding. And because I had a dog die of nasal cancer 2 years before, when I started the halotherapy for myself, I thought to myself, wouldn't this be just a wonderful thing for dogs that have issues? And maybe that could have helped her, but I didn't know about it at the time. So I like this idea of getting this idea to other people.
No, that's great. And talk a little bit about your pet experience now. Like you write books or you have blogs. Tell us a little bit about your pet.
Sure. Yeah. I've written, oh my gosh, I've written over 47 books. I think about 36 of them or something are about animals. I think 9 are about dogs and a bunch about birds, a couple about cats. But it's my passion. Animals are my passion. I grew up with them, and I'm an only child. So they were like my brothers and sisters, and they still are, I guess, a little bit. So yeah.
Do they talk to you? Or you like
just
Dr.
in
Dolittle?
like woofs and meows and stuff?
But you can interpret them by now, I bet. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So I think what would be good for everybody on the phone, because we have some vets, we have some other people in the pet space that may not be super familiar with halotherapy. So Lisa, if you could talk for a few minutes about, what halotherapy is, how it started, why it works on humans, and just talk a little bit about halotherapy in general. Is Lisa off mute?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sorry, did you hear the question or no?
No, please repeat the question.
Okay, so since a lot of people on the phone are vets or maybe pet store owners or things like that, they may not be super familiar with halotherapy. So can you please just explain kind of like the history of halotherapy and why it works with humans and why we think this is a great thing for animals as well.
Yes, I absolutely can. So halotherapy is obviously it's a complete detox of the skin and the lungs, and it's microparticles of pharmaceutical grade salt that get milled and dispersed into an enclosure or an environment. It settles into the respiratory tract and draws out the moisture, mucus, and impurities from the airway, both the upper and the lower. It's anti-inflammatory. And really, it helps to kill any of the, the bacteria and such in the airway. So microbes and things like that. Animals suffer from a lot of the same, afflictions in terms of their skin, fungus in their ears and the quality of their coat and the shininess of their coat. And a lot of the same kennel cough, feline infectious respiratory disease, and on, bronchial asthma, chronic sinusitis in felines and canines. So it just made sense. And obviously people absolutely love their pets, and giving them a lot of antibiotics, same as with humans. We just want to limit the amount of antibiotics that are out there. So another reason to look towards more alternative therapies for these animals and these pets. And I think that's the reason why there's been more of a push more recently to get the halotherapy out there into the, pet and animal business, aside from equine, which has obviously been there for quite a while.
No, that's great. That's a great answer. So, like you said, we love our pets and we want them to be as healthy as possible, especially naturally. So, halotherapy does definitely help with, respiratory as well as skin issues. So, so that's great. So I'm very excited that, you're heading up this new division, Lisa, of for pets. Let's go over to the horses for a second. So Jason, you've been in business, I think, longer than most people in the call it animal pet world. So talk a little bit about your company, how long you've been in business, what types of horses in general you work with.
Sure. Well, I've been in business doing this probably since summer of 2017. We've made a lot of improvements to the machine since then. And the type of horses, really, I'll talk to you about kind of where it's most popular. Because the machine is not inexpensive, it's got to make economic sense for people. And where it makes economic sense is often where horses are competing for money, like horse racing. So, I've had trainers that swear by the machine now because it's making their horses run better, or they've had horses that have had respiratory problems. And it really makes sense for them because if they can place better or win races, they get paid. And so the machine winds up paying for itself. I also sell the machine a lot has to do with horse therapists, people that already have a customer base where they're doing dental work, they're doing MagnaWave, magnetic therapy, chiropractic work. They feel they can add this on to their repertoire of modalities, and sometimes they could actually treat the horse while they're doing other work on them. They can do two things at one time, really doubling down on the money and the time. So that's kind of where I've been selling the machine. But it will work on any horse, obviously, that has respiratory issues, and it can be directed, the hose directly for skin issues. And if we talk about closed versus enclosed rooms versus masks, the enclosed room will treat the skin and the respiratory at the same time. That's
great. And does it help with bleeding also? I know that's a big issue with horses too.
Yes. So the two primary things that we hear from our users are that they love it for bleeding, which is also called EIPH, exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhages. And what happens is the horse's lungs are so big, they create such an incredible vacuum when they huff and puff that the capillaries in the lungs can burst and pop and bleed. And what happens is vets do a scope. They send a scope down the nose and they look at the condition of the lungs. And bleeding is very prevalent with racehorsing, also horse racing with barrel racing, reining, anytime where the horses are just going full out. And the salt has been used to heal the irritation. A lot of times we try to describe it as if you have a sore throat and you gargle with salt, you know what that wet salt does. Well, that does the same thing when it touches kind of a sore area where there's bleeding. So it's been phenomenal for bleeding. And each trainer has their own little secret repertoire of how they regimen or how they use it. So that's really a big deal. I want to also add to the bleeding issue that Lasix, which is a drug that's being used to kind of minimize bleeding, they think there's a lot of side effects to it, and they just don't like drugs in racing and in horse competition. And it's being eliminated. From what I understand from one of my trainers is that the 2-year-olds now are not allowed to have it, and then next year it will be 2 and 3-year-olds, and so on and so forth. I also understand that bleeders breed bleeders. So if you have a horse that bleeds genetically, it's going to, and it gets bred because it's such a great racehorse. At the same time, it's going to continue on. So there's a market there for this, especially for the drug-free world. So I know I said a lot. How are you feeling about that? Any other questions?
No, that's great. I definitely have more questions. So you mentioned before that a horse could go like into a stall or a barn, or you mentioned an attachment. So what's the most, like, the horses get jumpy? So talk a little bit about how
Sure.
the horse is administered the salt treatment, and how is it 20 minutes? Is it an hour?
Yeah, I'll do that for you. And Steve, I remember the other end of that question was the other treat. So bleeding's big time, and then mucus. Any kind of mucus elimination is huge. So horse has allergies. They move from barn to barn. Sometimes there's various cruds and stuff. And when we treat a horse, we can see by the end of the 25-minute session that it's coming out. It's coming out. Mucus comes out of the nose. Let me just share my screen for you. I have a small video that will show you what it looks like to, and tell me if you guys can see the screen.
Can see the screen?
Is it there?
Yep, we can see the screen. Yep. I see.
Yep. So this is Equine. This is the Equine Salt website, and this is our video. In fact, maybe I'll just pop it to YouTube. And you're able to see this YouTube as well?
Yeah, this is great. I can see it right now. It's playing. Yep.
Great. This will just give you a little sense of what it looks like.
This is going to be great. And the horse is pretty calm, so it seems like they get used to it, huh?
Yeah, you look at the back leg of the horse. When the horse relaxes like that, their leg just bends in. You'll see in a moment. That's our old FX machine. We've now created the portable unit, which I'll talk about. It's running for the sessions, and you can see here the horse is very relaxed. They love it. They lick inside there. This is $1 million show jumper, this horse. And the horse took really, really well to it. So that's pretty much the story. Let me stop the share. Come back to me. So that's really what it's like. Now we have the new portable unit, which is smaller, and it's the way it gets administered is literally you come up to the horse, you show it the mask, you make sure they're comfortable with it, which they are. 99% of the horses that there's no issue. Some horses are just really, really riled up, and they're tough, but that's very, very, very few times that's happened for me. And if that's the case, you stay with the horse very, very closely, and you make sure that they don't throw their head around. But that's really not an issue. Horses love it. They're excited when they see it come out. They're like, oh, I get my own little personal spa treatment today. So it's exciting. It's mentally stimulating for them. And you put it on, and you press the button after you put some salt in the top. It uses about 2 tablespoons. It's important to prep the salt, which I think we'll all talk about, is if you get a little crock pot, you prep the salt in the crock pot so it gets dry and warm, and the more crackly and the more humidity is taken out of the salt, the better. It'll crack nice and mill properly for people. So you had a question about the room.
Yeah. So can somebody retrofit a trailer, or they do something in a barn, or is it just in a stall?
Exactly. What some people have done is they've retrofitted the trailer. They take a trailer which normally has a dressing room in the front. Certain trailers have certain designs where there's a little room in the front that's closest to where it's getting attached to the car or the truck. And you take that room, you put a dehumidifier or an air conditioner in there. You pop a hole through the wall, and then you mount that machine that you just saw, a machine that through a hole, and it broadcasts the salt out into the space. and it works beautifully as well. And the nice part about that is then you can operate in any humid type of environment. You know, in Florida here, it gets very humid, and while the machine works without being in the room, it's even better when you can do it anytime you want.
Oh, that's great. It's funny when I interviewed a few horse trainers, racehorse trainers, a couple of years ago, and they said this salt therapy helps so much with horses, you know, before the races, like, you know, say a week before, when they had some, you know, lung issues, they were able to train more, and then like a couple of days before they would give a treatment, and it helps so much. It's funny, I talked to one of the owners, one of these billionaire owners, and his horse, who used to finish in, you know, third, fourth place, we're now coming in first place. And he said to me, Steve, don't sell this unit to anybody else. Just, I want it. So it really is a great, you know, competitive advantage naturally, just to have people breathe better, right? Same with human athletes, but the equine world as well. So Jason, what you're doing is just fantastic. So congratulations. And again, if people want to know more, well, at the end of this, we can ask more questions. But again, if you go to equinesalt.com, you can ask Jason any kind of questions you want. Lisa, let's switch over to pets a second. So Jason talked about, you know, this mask or this trailer. Can you talk a little bit about the pet products that you guys are launching, the two different pet products, and who is it primarily for, and, you know?
Sure. Yeah. So we have two different iterations of our halotherapy for pets. The first one is what we call the Halo Pet Spa, and it features a collapsible bench so you can go in with your pet or not. Similar to like what a sauna looks like. It doesn't have any infrared or heat, but there's an optional red light option if that's what you also want, because there's some benefit with the red light as well. It's a non-toxic basswood interior. It's the generator in particular has been designed particularly for pets because unlike horses with massive lungs, the lungs of smaller animals and pets they don't have the same capacity. So we have developed a lower output generator specifically designed for pets with lower particle concentrations than what's required for humans. The generator is still the same great generator with minimal cleaning and maintenance and has that 5-year warranty. So that'll be a great unit for more of a business to business opportunity where somebody could develop a Halo Pet Spa, doggy daycares and things like that. And then pets would come in and do a 10 to 15 minute session. We also have Halo Pet Pod, features the same generator, but this one is a little more portable. So holistic vets could use this if they wanted to bring it from treatment room to treatment room. It does come with a little pop-up tent or enclosure just to sort of contain the particles. And obviously the pet can go inside that and enjoy the 10 or 15 minute session, same thing. So that also has some attachments similar to what you saw with the horses, where, for instance, a veterinarian, a holistic vet or a mainstream vet could potentially use that flexible hose with an enclosure of their own, like an oxygen chamber or something like that. So lots of versatility, at lower price point and a little bit less concentration than what's required. So I think that both options are going to give a lot of flexibility to both the consumer and the business to business, as well as veterinarians.
No, that's great. Now, do you envision either vets or even, our salt therapy owners today that are servicing people? Do you envision that they can either add this for the people coming in with their pets, or do you think they can even sell these products for people at their homes to use for their pets? What role do you see as far as home use with this?
Yeah. So, in the run up to our launch, I've done a lot of research and truthfully, I don't recommend that they try to have a dual facility that has both pets and humans because, obviously people are allergic to pets. You don't want the dander around and some people have anxiety around animals. It's just better to have a separate facility. That said, some folks have, a separate part of the facility with a separate doorway where they can, they could dual purpose the facility facility, but it has to be structured a certain way. Otherwise, I would say, you could get just a small storefront and, create a beautiful little holistic pet business where you're offering a few different modalities, including the halotherapy, where somebody could stop by for a quick session while they're out and about. And then certainly they could recommend the portable unit to their clients and customers for at-home maintenance. So yeah, again, lots of options and opportunities.
That's great. Now, do you think it's mostly going to be dogs or dogs and cats, or what do you think?
So we've had some remarkable experience with people that have had both dogs and cats. I mean, honestly, I was at the North American Vet Conference 3 years ago with a veterinarian, and we were in a certain area that was, I guess, designated as sort of new and upcoming modalities in the vet world. And there was a lot of excitement around the halotherapy. I mean, we had everybody stopping by the booth and trying, a session, and we even had a dog. But I think primarily dogs and cats, but what I did learn is that there's an opportunity for really all animals, reptiles included. It helps them to shed their skin a little bit better. But I think that primarily it'll be the dogs and cats that have all these afflictions that they suffer from and benefiting from the halotherapy.
This is great. And okay, let me switch over to Nikki, since you've lived in this pet world for a long time. Have you noticed? Do you have the same belief or factual background that dogs and cats do suffer from respiratory and skin issues? Can you talk a little bit about that? And
I mean,
you got so excited. Just talk again about why you got so excited about why you believed this is going to be great for pets.
Well, I love it for myself. And how could it not be good for our animals, And
Yep.
I think we've gotten very into preventative medicine for ourselves, maybe just in the last 20 years. It hasn't been that long, right? Where we think about that, because we're problem solvers, but we don't think about doing something ahead of time, right? Mm-hmm. And I think pet parents are very into doing something ahead of time and to helping problems not start, And this is one of the tools that people can use for that. And dogs and cats get terrible skin problems and terrible respiratory problems. And this could be a huge thing. And, and it is possible that reptiles and birds and other animals can really benefit too. So and it's it can only do good,
Now we're really excited that, Lisa's and you guys are working on this new pet division from Halotherapy Solutions, and Jason, you've done a super job in the equine field. So we have 3 great people on. So what I like to do now, Terry, has anybody can type in questions. They can text, I think in the chat bar, they can text. Do we have any questions from anybody yet? One of the questions I see is, Lisa, this is probably directed to you. How long is a session, typical session for, say, a dog, or say a 20-pound dog or something?
Yeah, so I did have the opportunity to listen to a holistic vet talk a little bit about that. And one of the things she'd recommended was like a 10-minute session, but that's more with a higher output generator. So I would say like a 15-minute session with our Halo generator. And I can honestly say I haven't firsthand experienced it, but both my sister and my mom, who were in the halotherapy business, did allow pets to come into their facility. And some of the experiences that they've had with people who've brought in, and this is in particular with 2 different cats. One of them was on its honest to God deathbed, and it was choking for air, couldn't really get any air in. They started giving it the halotherapy in the human booth, 10-minute sessions, and that cat's life was literally transformed. So when I heard that story, and that was like 3 years ago, I've since heard a similar story when my sister was sharing that this particular vet I was referencing actually sent this owner over to my sister's facility because it was closer, a little closer to where she lived. And she used to bring her cat in all the time as well. And the cat suffered from feline respiratory disease. And honestly, that cat, my sister said it made a huge difference in that cat's life too. So not a lot of testimonials out there, but what we have seen have been remarkable. So I'm really excited.
And now that's great. And I think you've also talked to some veterinarians as well about this too.
Oh yeah, the vets that I've talked to about it, especially when I was at that North American Vet Conference, we've had a tremendous amount of feedback, and it was all very positive, and it seemed to make a lot of sense for people who really understood the modality.
That's great. So if people want to get in touch with you, Lisa, what's your email address and phone number? What's the best way to people to contact you?
Yeah, so they can contact me directly at lisa@halotherapysolutions.com. And I'm sure we can send out a follow-up, some sort of follow-up with the recording as well as my contact information. And then my direct phone number is 517-294-1686.
That's great. And Jason, what is Jason@equinesalt.com is your best email address, correct?
Yep, JASON, and then of course www.equinesalt.com as well. There's phone numbers and information, outlets on there.
On the website, great. Now we're really excited about that. Again, we've seen unbelievable increase in our human business because of COVID and more people being concerned about respiratory health, immunity, building it up, and their hygiene. And with people being around their pets so much these days, being home, and this is just going to work great for both pets. And Jason's had tremendous success in the equine industry. So if you're interested in either for your own pet or your own business, or you want to resell it, or you want to offer it in your facility, we're more than happy to, any of these people are happy to help you. So again, in general, if you have a specific question about the pets, call Lisa or email Lisa. If you have it on the horse side, Jason at Equine Salt. So if there's I'll give it another minute.
There is one question here from Jody Shaw that says, is there a documentation that we can use to talk to vets or to help advertise pet halotherapy?
Yeah, so we just finalized the product sheet for that. So again, if you reach out to Lisa, or Lisa has your information, she can send that out to people.
Yeah, and we're going to rely on Nikki to do some additional, she's got lots of connections with thought leaders in animal health. And we're going to, we've had studies that were already done with one of the veterinarians we've been working with in the past, but we want to get, additional information out there. And hopefully in the coming year, 2021, we'll have a lot more scientific information to the extent that we can out there. So it's coming.
No, that's great. So this is really exciting. Everybody have a safe and healthy rest of the year, and enjoy your pets and your horses. And again, the recording is going to be available in a couple days, so we'll email that out to you and other information. But again, we really, really want to partner with many, many different people that service the pet and equine industry. So feel free to reach out to us at any point. So again, thank you very, very much for your time, and have a great holiday season.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.